What's going on, everyone? The McLaren App. We are sitting nearly on the start line, and actually we wanted to talk a little bit about starts. Had a few good ones this year. Last week was one of them, and yeah, just wanted to kind of let you guys in a little bit on what goes through our head on the start and what we need to do to execute a good one. So firstly, you're basically staring at the lights. So the first box you want to tick is your reaction box. Anything under like 200 milliseconds is normally a pretty quick reaction for us. And then it's really trying to plan where you're going to put the car. So you might have like a bit of a preconceived idea of where to go, whether you want outside or inside for turn one, but it can change. You know, if the two cars in front of you go outside, then all right, you might want to go inside. So you have to be very like adaptive on the fly. And so last week I saw like a gap in the middle, and it's a bit risky because you can then get squeezed in, but I felt like there was enough, so I went for that. It worked relatively well. I got a little squeezed because George still stayed on the inside and he braked well into one, so I couldn't quite get ahead of him to like really make the move stick. But then it's just about like watching your front wing, and we don't actually see the front wing, but it's like making sure that we don't basically get any damage, because that's, you know, lap one you can make the most positions, but you can also ruin your race from the start. So you're kind of going through all these things in your head, and then hello, and then then just trying to put your car in the right line. Thank you. To try and get as many passes as possible, as many cars as possible. So anyway, it's like it's hectic because the tires are a bit cold as well, and there's cars everywhere, and you got less grip, but it's chaotic. I mean, put it this way, to conclude all of that, when we finish the race, once we do media, we go back into the motorhome and we have a race debrief. And the first thing that we get asked was, you know, how was your start? How did you feel with the procedure, and did you have good grip? And a lot of the time my answer is I don't remember. It's such a blur, and so much happens in such a short amount of time that you actually, a lot of the time, you don't remember what happens. Like, I'm like, let me watch the replay. So yeah, that's kind of it.
Do you remember your best ever start?
My best ever start. I don't know if I do. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I guess I've had some good ones, but best ever one, yeah, that's tough. I don't think I remember that.
And it's quite a long distance to the start. Does that make a difference in how many moves you can make essentially?
Yeah, so the distance before turn one, you know, it affects a lot your plan as well. You know, if it's a short distance, you have less time to, maybe if you start on the outside and you want to get to the inside, you're less likely to be able to make that transition. But with a long start, like a long straight before turn one, you have chance to move, you have chance to get a slipstream from someone, and there's a lot more strategy involved. So the short one, you're a little bit more relying on your reaction and your actual start, where a long straight, it's a bit more about planning where you put the car and figuring out the best position to put it in. So you can make up if your reaction's a little slower sometimes.
And now that you've done this once already, what's the plan this weekend?
Depends if this gets released before the race or not.
It will.
So I can't give away all, but I think firstly, qualify better, you know, not have to be forced to make such a good start. And then I think here, like the inside is like the safer route, but I feel like the outside you can carry more momentum, but you carry that risk. So it's honestly, it's whichever gap looks best coming into the braking zone. You know, that's where I'll go, and that's where I'll try to put my car, and hopefully this week with many less cars ahead of me.
Last question. Is it your favourite part of the race?
Yeah, like the start is by far the most intense part of the race, and therefore probably the most exciting. I think like that feeling, those butterflies and that adrenaline I get from those moments, you know, like that's probably what I'll miss when I retire one day. That's probably what I'll miss. Like that'll be hard to replicate, that rush. And yeah, straight after, like once the first lap's done, you just feel like your heart rate, everything just drops. So it's that like first minute of the race is so intense, but I love it. I've learned to love that part of the race more than anything.